Rabbi, the true living God, the grand supreme architect of the universe, the creator of all, the God that we put our trust in, that loving God, the revered God, inspired God, exalted God, the possessor of the heavens and the earth. Dear Lord, we come before thee humbly and openly requesting permission, dear Lord, to be in thy presence. Dear Lord, if our request be granted, we ask of thee, oh dear Lord, to open your gates of the heavens to hear our petition, to hear our plea, to hear our prayer. Oh dear Lord, hear us, dear Lord, at this time. Hear our pleas, dear Lord. You are the true living God that hears the prayers of thy people, Israel. Oh dear Lord, we want to give thanks to thee, oh dear Lord, for being in our midst. We want to thank thee, oh dear Lord, for this day, because this is the day that the Lord has made. You created this day, dear Lord, in honor of your sanctification of thy creation. Dear Lord, you also created this day for Israel, thy loving people. Dear Lord, we ask of thee, oh dear Lord, to stay in the midst of us, dear Lord. Be with us, oh dear Lord, on our lying down and on our rising up, and when we walk by the way. We also want to give thanks to thee, oh dear Lord, for this Shabbath day. Because, dear Lord, 6 days, dear Lord, you created the heavens and earth. And you sanctified this particular day, oh dear Lord, above all other days. You sanctified this day, oh dear Lord, in honor of the Torah, in honor of thy people, thy loving people, Israel. Dear Lord, we want to tell you how much we love thee, dear Lord. We dare love thee, dear Lord, because you are that true living God. We ask of thee, oh dear Lord, to continue to be with us. Dear Lord, we have no other God besides thee. We want to give thanks to thee, oh dear Lord, for food to eat, for clothes to wear, and a shelter over our head. We want to give thanks to thee, oh dear Lord, for the moon that shines by night and the sun that shines by day. We want to thank you, oh dear Lord, for the rain in which we have a chance to nourish our bodies, dear Lord. We want to thank you, oh dear Lord, for health, strength, for peace of mind, long life, prosperity, and all these blessings, dear Lord, that you bestow upon us. We are grateful, dear Lord. We are grateful of the blessings that we receive, dear Lord, from thee. Because we realize, dear Lord, that if man was to give us any blessings, many of us would go without. So we look to the heavens, knowing where our help comes. Our help comes from you, dear Lord, that grand supreme architect, the creator of all. Our help comes from only thee, dear Lord. So we acknowledge thee. We bow down to thee. We bend our knee to thee. We call upon thy name, dear Lord, and we praise thy name. We all say, hallelujah, Adonai. Hallelujah, Adonai. Oh, dear Lord, we also have to deal, dear Lord, for the Torah. We have to deal, dear Lord, and thank thee, dear Lord, for thy statutes, thy commandments, thy law. We thank you, dear Lord, for loving thy children Israel. Dear Lord, you said when we came to the mountaintop, you said, dear Israel, he said, wherever I record my name, he said, I will come to you and I will bless you. Dear Lord, so we have to be, oh dear Lord, we are here. We are here in your house, dear Lord. So we ask for thy blessing for this particular day, dear Lord. You are our God. You are our life. You are our Redeemer. Have mercy upon us, dear Lord. Have mercy upon thy children. Oh dear Lord, let God arise. Let thine enemies be scattered. Let those that hate thee flee before thee, like smoke is driven away, so drive them away, like wax smoke before the fire. Let the wicked perish at the presence of our God. Bind and confess darkness, even in superstition, and when they no longer save our mind and blind our eyes, we look with the light of thy countenance, dear Lord, and let the light of thy countenance shine forth upon the house of Israel, to let all nations know, dear Lord, that you are the God of Israel, in which we live and move and have thy being. Oh, dear Lord, we are not just praying for ourselves. We pray for all manner of life and all mankind. We pray for the sick, the lame, the blind, the destitute, oppressed, widows, Israelites, people all over the world, in the midst of all their suffering, dear Lord, let them know that thou lovest them. And when our earthly task is done, oh dear Lord, we can't do any more. We ask of thee, oh dear Lord, of all these blessings and many more. The These are the blessings that we ask of in this time and for all time. Hallelujah. 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 Amen. Shalom, baby. Amen. Oh, say shalom. Oh, say shalom. Yeah.
honor to the Holy One on this Shabbat Kukwat, the 4th month of the year. Hallelujah, Rosh Chodesh. Do you need any more blessings? Well, I give to you the best Elohim Hebrew choir. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Thank you, Lord. Hashem like to be praised all the time. You never stand up and get Hashem to praise.
Yes.
Praise God. When my son was there, Benjamin, he had us on cloud nine singing that song. And it's been enshrining in me ever since. And it's all right with Raphael. I told him how to move it. He prayed that piano. He got in the spirit playing that piano. And I'm asking Hashem and all of y'all to let my son Benjamin Rabbi sing that song for me one more time.
Yes. Glory, glory. But you and that dearest. No. The one that works. They sing too. Dearest. I like to praise your name.
We got a spirit. We're going to try to bring it back.
Okay.
Can't guarantee you, but we'll try. You ready, Raphael?
Raphael, come on, Raphael.
We need to quiet.
Come on, we need to quiet.
Huh?
Oh, it was his birthday.
We'll warm it up. We start that one?
Start it off.
Okay, we'll go with them. Okay. I love to praise Him. I love to praise His name. I love to praise. Come on, Raphael. I love to praise Him. Say what? I love to praise God's holy name. He's my rock. My soul to Glory, glory. Hallelujah. Since I laid my burden down. Glory, glory. Come on. I laid my burden down. I don't walk like I used to. this special day, we are in a special time and in the right place. Hallelujah. Woo. So much to be thankful for. So much to be happy about, King. But we have so much to be thankful. We're not going to play. I know it's a little hot. I know it's a little humid, but we're not going to complain about the heat. We happy to be alive. We're happy to feel that breath. And have a little sweat fall off the brow. Right, you know, when we sing that song, to the glory, huh? Of the Most High. Glory, glory. Hallelujah. This is the place to be. And as we continue on, can we continue? In the service of the Most High. As on this Shabbat, I pray that you get some rest. How many of you gotten some rest so far? The rest of that body, you know, just rest the body just for a minute. Most High says it's a Shabbat, right? To cease. To cease. But also in that ceasing period, that time, if you will, I need you to get closer if you can at the same time to the Most High. Can we do that? Can we get rest and draw closer? Hallelujah. As we begin the Shabbat by saying what? Did you invite the Almighty into your home? But more importantly, into your heart and into your mind. Can we do that? We got to clear it out, right? We got to stop all the negativity, all the other distractions. Most I says, on this day, I need your full, say undivided? Undivided. Undivided attention. Hallelujah. So that I can now pour out, a blessing upon you that what? You can't. Is that a blessing? Yes. Because he knows you, guess what? Better than you know yourself. He knows exactly what you need. And will give it to you. Hallelujah. Give it to you. So I pray that you are ready to receive it. Are you ready? Yes. Are you ready? He says, ready or not, here it comes. To receive this word today, you know, it's not just about rest. But prayerfully, as the rabbi is going to come forth and bring forth some words. And words are powerful, are they not? These are not just mere ordinary words. Okay? When you open up the Sefer HaTorah, as the men brought out to we marched with the Torah. The words that included. The words are in those words in the parchment paper, in the book, in the Tanakh, and the Siddurim that you have. Those are not just mere words, are they? If you understand the power behind those words, they're designed to activate something in you that you can use right now. But also, guess what? When you leave here, we're going to give you something to take with you home and spread it out to all that you come in contact with. You become the light. Yisrael, the Israelites. Would you please rise for our spiritual leader, Rabbi Sholomo, Levy. Hallelujah.
Rishon. First. They call us among Rishon. And always first. Aninoten kavod. Shabbat. Lehalel. To the Most High God. El Elyon. Elohei ha-Elohim. Adonai ha-Elohim. Melechei ha-Melechim. King of kings. Lord of lords. Adonai Avram Yitzhak Yaakov. Moshe Aharon, Rabbi Sholomo, and the call that he is for him. Elohei Imotenu, Sarah, Lifta, Raka, Leah, Deborah, Ruth, Naomi, Hadassah, Yael, and all the mothers of Israel. Damani Kavod today, Rabbi Yamin Levy, Rabbi Ezekiel, Rabbi Yamin, Rabbi Azriel, Shlomo, Bishville, Imashini, and especially my mother, Levy, Barney, Israel, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat
Shalom. Peace be unto you on this beautiful and peaceful Shabbat day. I'm happy to be in the house of the Lord on this God's holy Shabbat day and to be among you, God's chosen people. I'm delighted to see Cousin Nathaniel be here today. Looking so healthy and so young. And I'm delighted to be back from my trip to West Africa. Last Shabbat I was celebrating Shabbat in Africa. And I was thinking about you. And it is a pleasure to be back here today. You know, a few weeks ago you read a part in Torah, Mechitz, where it says, and you shall send down spies. And today it says Malachim, which often means king, but Malach means angel. And you should send these messages. And so I felt that I was an emissary, going out to spy out the land, and to come back and give a report. But I want to give a good report. Because it says that Moses picked the best of the tribes of Israel. And he told, I want you to go ahead before the tribe, and I want you to spy out the land in preparation of the rest of us coming. And it said they brought back an evil report. And it said, although their journey only took 40 days, it says because of that punishment of every day that you spent there in the land and brought back an evil report, we'll spend another year here in the wilderness. And that's why we were in the wilderness for 40 years. So a year for every day. So I was in Africa for 10 days, and I'm going to bring back a good report. Bring back a good report. And I have written this down because I thought it was so important to write this down while the memories are still fresh in my mind. Because I'm sure it is something I will want to remember for years and years to come and to share with other people. And though I have the opportunity to share it with you today personally, there are many, many other people who would like to know about what I saw and what I thought about that. So I've written this and I'll put it on our website next week. And I've tentatively called it A Year of Return. A Year of Return. And I think you'll see as you listen to it, if you don't already know, why this year, 2019, is a year of return in many respects. So I'll share my thoughts of my journey with your brother's return in this way. 2019 represents the year of return. 400 years ago, the first Africans stepped on the shores of Jamestown, Virginia. In many ways, those events were more momentous than the landing on the moon. In fact, one could argue that if those Africans had not arrived and proceeded to make the colonies rich, our history would be very different, if it existed at all. People have always wanted to measure time. We looked up at the sky and began counting the number of days to complete the phases of the moon. That is what gave us months and eventually years. We poured sand through an hourglass to give us more precision. The thing about time, even our most sophisticated atomic clocks, is that our instruments can only measure the passage of time from some point in the past or present to some other point in the past. Nothing measures time in the future. And as we look back, we see patterns and cycles that seem to repeat, markers and turning points that tell us how low we sunk and how far we've come. This year is such a time for reflection. As fate or chance would have it, this year was the year that I touched the shores of West Africa for the first time. Hence, I completed a generational cycle that took 400 years or 16 generations to close.
From the comfort of the departure terminal of John F. Kennedy Airport in New York City, I allowed myself to wonder what my ancestor thought as he or she sat chained, hungry, beaten, and packed into the hull of a wooden ship. The contrast was stark. I was excited and bursting with anticipation for this journey. They, no doubt, were terrified as they looked and prayed in vain for a way to escape their journey of horror. I wore my favorite blue blazer and a snappy Panama hat that always identifies me as a tourist on some Caribbean vacation. 400 years ago, I wore shackles instead of an Apple Watch on my wrist, and chains around my neck instead of the thin wire connecting the earbuds of my soft headphones. Given the fortuitous circumstances that allowed my college to send me on this academic mission, I knew that I was privileged. Then, I must have felt like one of the most unlucky people in the world, chosen to be a slave. Indeed, I have lived vicariously through my ancestors, as surely as I will continue to live through my children and their posterity. Over that time, I have been a beast of burden, chattel property, a nigger, second-class citizen, before becoming the person that I am today. When I arrived in the capital of Accra, I expected the landscape to be filled with lush green trees. After all, I had been told that the color green in the flag of Ghana and green in the Black Liberation flag of red, black, and green represented the land. Instead, what I saw in this thriving metropolis was a concrete jungle of buildings, stores, roads, and churches everywhere that seemed to be growing from places where trees once stood. I lodged at a comfortable guest house owned by Dr. Kabla Agabota, a Ghanaian professor who teaches at the University of Norway and now lives in Europe with his Norwegian wife. He took me for walks through the neighborhood and the local market. I was impressed by how open and friendly the people were. The variety and abundance of produce was amazing. I tasted fruits and vegetables that I had never eaten before. Things that had strange names and exotic tastes and wonderful fragrances. The sheer number of tiny shops, street vendors, and walking merchants who literally balanced their stores on their heads was a testament to the strong entrepreneurial spirit that abounds in Africa. Everyone feels empowered to start a business, from the girl who sells boiled eggs to the kiosk peddling cell phones and calling cards. Unfortunately, there wasn't much that I could see that distinguishes this admirable work ethic from modern capitalism and material consumerism, except that the people went about their business more slowly. Professor Kabla explained that he and most of the people I met in that village were members of the Awe people. There was also a large population of Ga people and Fanta people in the region. Later in my trip, I would encounter the once mighty Ashanti people of the Akan Nation. All of these people spoke English because Ghana had been an English colony called the Gold Coast until 1957. Most of them spoke an African language called Twi. I enjoyed learning a few Twi phrases like Akwaba, which means welcome when you come to somebody's house. They say Akwaba and they welcome you in. Etese, that's how you say, how are you? And if someone says to you Etese, then you say, ah yeah, okay. Houseway, and how are you?
remember that one because it's so close to the Hebrew, Yahweh, which means beautiful. And they have a word in the Tree language, Raphael, means beautiful. And so I think that is part of that Hebrew connection that still survives. On Saturday night, friends took me to a popular nightclub where I expected to experience live African drumming and singing. For weeks prior, I had listened to my old Babatunde Aladunje drums and passion album and the soul-stirring music of the South African singer Miriam Makeba. But at this club, and as it turns out all over Ghana, the music I heard most at clubs or radios and television was Jamaican reggae and American hip-hop. Among the places we visited in Accra was the home of black intellectual W.E.B. Du Bois, the founder of the NAACP. And he was an inspiration to me because when I started my intellectual journey in studying African American history, reading his book, Souls of Black Folks, was one of those pivotal moments in that he talked about himself feeling this kind of two-ness, that he was an American, but he was also an African, and how he had to hold on to both parts of his identity all of his life. Near the end of his life, he immigrated to Ghana, particularly when the United States government kept preventing him to get a passport to travel, and Ghana was the first African country to be liberated from colonialism. And so he went there to Ghana to be there. In Ghana at the invitation of Kwame Nkrumah. And so I literally got to walk in his footsteps. When we arrived at his home, which is now a museum, I saw other two groups coming and going. And one of the groups that was just leaving as I arrived was a group led by Professor Smalls from City College. And he goes very often with Dr. Jeffries. And they were there that day, just by coincidence. As he was coming out, I was coming in, and we greeted each other. And then as I walked through Du Bois's home, I could see the thousands of books that he had on his shelves. I saw the desk where he worked on the Encyclopedia of Africa, which he didn't finish. And then I thought about my own experience at Harvard working on that Encyclopedia Africana, which many thought was the completion of Du Bois's work, something he started to do this encyclopedia, and now we are finishing it and continuing it. But to be there, to feel his presence as I walked through the house was powerful. His body is also buried there on that site. Then we went to the mausoleum of Kwame Nkrumah, who was the first leader of Ghana and the first black leader of independent African nation. Of course, we think of Ethiopia, but Ethiopia was never colonized, never conquered. So they were always free. But Kwame Nkrumah is the leader of the liberation movement of African countries freeing themselves from colonialism. And this was magnificent. I compared it in my own mind to the greatness and grandeur of the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. And many of you have been there. But it was a stately statue, a mausoleum with water and marble, the beautiful architecture. And as I got the tour, the guy explained that this was designed by a Ghanaian artist and architect, and it was supposed to represent a tree that had been cut off. Because Kwame Nkrumah was deposed in a coup by his own people. And they look back at that now, at the greatness in his vision, and said his vision was cut off before it was completed. I appreciated how challenging his mission was, because Ghana, like most of Africa, is a European creation. Ghana used to be called the Gold Coast. The neighboring country to the north is still called Cote d'Ivoire, the Ivory Coast. But Ghana said we should throw off the colonial name
our original name before the colonists came, we were called Ghana. But that is of one people, of the Ashanti people, of the Akan nation. As I said, the people on the coast, the Ewe, the Ga, and the Fante, they are a different group of people. And there are many different groups and many different languages. And so Ghana didn't represent all of them. But he said, now that we are a free country, we shouldn't go back to our individual tribes. We should still try to maintain a country as one African nation called Ghana. And that was challenging and it was difficult because each one wanted their own identity, their own independence, and their own chiefs. And to this day, this is what divides Africa. And so many of the nations of Africa, especially in Nigeria, where I thought I was going to go, and then people said, no, don't go to Nigeria. Don't go to Nigeria. Because they have all these divisions. So Ghana is unique in that it's one African nation where although people know who they are, they know their individual tribes, and they will tell you need to know them, travel with them. They know their individual tribes and their languages, but they still feel that we're part of one nation, one God. I felt that as they were watching the soccer games every place. The African tournament of soccer, football, and they were all rooting for God. And so the African Cup going on in Egypt. And so they were all saying, you know, I may be Ewe, you may be God, you may be Ashanti, you may be Akan, but we all Ghanaian. And we all rooting for Ghana to win, but that was something that I saw as important and how difficult it is to bring our people together. He tried and they overthrew. And they didn't bring his body back until he had died. He lived in exile in Guinea, another African country. And much like Moses, if I can make the comparison, they honor Kwame today. There are streets, buildings, monuments, his pictures on the money, but they don't recall that they're the ones who overthrew, not the Europeans. And so this reminds me, if I may make a connection to the Torah, that Moses was our leader.
Yes.
And the way we treated him, the way we, it said, murmured and talked about him. Sigmund Freud, the father of modern psychology, his last book was called Moses and Monotheism. And he was dying of jaw cancer at the time. So he could hardly talk, but yet he's thinking about Moses. And he writes in his book, Moses and Monotheism, that much like the people of Ghana and Kwame Nkrumah, that the Israelites could not bring themselves to admit that they killed Moses. And so in the Torah it says, well, he went up on the mountain, Mount Pisgah, Mount Nebo, and he just didn't come down. Freud said, that is a way of saying, they don't want to admit we killed him. So he went up, he didn't come down. Consciousness, avoidance of guilt. Well, this is the Ghanaian people as they think about Kwame Nkrumah. And as you know, his vision wasn't just for Ghana, but he was one of the leaders of Pan-Africanism and the Organization of African States. So he wanted to not only unite Ghana, but then to unite all of Africa. And you can see, if you can't even unite the tribes of your own country, how can you unite all the tribes of Africa? And this still remains a challenge. How are our people ever going to think of themselves as one people? I had a contrast because as an African American, we think in racial terms. We see things literally in black and white. So for us, it's easy to say, look at them, you black, you're black, you're all black, so you're all one people. But for people who have a sense of identity beyond skin color, they don't see themselves as being all one people. I'm a completely different people. I got a language, culture, religion, and history, which is different from his language, culture, religion, and history. And so they don't see things in racial terms in the same way that African Americans do. I was frustrated that they saw me as an African American everywhere I went. Even though I purchased some African clothing, I was learning to speak smile. And when we were out eating, if the waitress would bring us, something to our table, I would say, Madase, and she would smile. And so he said, well, they know that you're not Ghanaian. And they're smiling because you're trying to speak their language. So they know. So just because you think you're black, and I heard that some other African Americans who had traveled to Ghana, other African nations, oftentimes black people arrive in Africa and they say, I'm home, brother. And they look at you, you're an American. Whatever you think, you are an American, whether you're an American wearing African clothing. You are an American trying to speak our language. But you are always an American. From there, we went up the coast to a place called Cape Coast, actually. Called the Central Region, but it's not actually Central. It is to the north and west in Ghana. And this is the site where the slave castles. And, I had to prepare myself for that experience. I spoke to Papo before I left. And he warned me, he said, when you get there, don't try to hold back the tears, because it's going to be moving. And so it was a long journey, not only in time, but because the roads are so bad, you can't go more than like 30 miles an hour, 20 miles an hour on some of the roads that need to be paved. So again, you think our roads are bad, or as Ray and I say, we know we get to New York when the car starts. must be in New York City now. Well, you go to Ghana, you see roads that need repair. But when we got there, I was greeted by Rabbi Sholomo. And it was good to see our brother there. And also from here in New York, Sister Yedid Tamar. Just there a couple of weeks ago. She said she'd be back in a few weeks. She greeted me there at the Kohen Netanya's resort. He runs a resort there and gives tours of these places, which I highly recommend. His restaurant is right on the beach, and then he took us to the slave castles. And I have a lot of pictures and video that I'll share with you when you see it, because one picture, the Chinese says, is worth 1,000 words. But where I became overcome during the tour, as he explained things, when we went into the dungeon where the slaves were actually kept, you feel the claustrophobia start to close in on us. And you could almost still hear the moaning and crying in those walls. It is the sounds of the waves crashing on the rocks, but it creates this thunder that rumbles through. And even in our small group, it was about 5 to 6 of us, we felt closed in as we went deeper and deeper into there. And then we had a prayer inside one of the dungeons. He always said, don't call it a castle. It was a dungeon. And you see how they were locked up in there. They were built, you could imagine having 150, 200 people in there. He said sometimes they were back 300, 350 in those rooms. With little light and little ventilation, even though it's there on the beach. And when we came up, we felt a sense of relief to walk into the light, into the fresh air. And we were just down there for a few minutes, but it felt like an eternity. And you could imagine, you could empathize what millions of our ancestors must have gone through. Those who survived and those who didn't survive. I had to remind myself when we stepped out onto the deck of the castle, there's a row of cannons that you'll see in the picture. And we sat on the wall and we looked at these cannons, maybe 20 cannons, all facing the ocean. And so remind me, in this castle, the Europeans who built these castles, they were defending the castles not from Africans, but from other Europeans. That the castle was originally built by the Portuguese and then captured by the Dutch and then the British. And so the Europeans were fighting among themselves. And they built that castle to warehouse their cargo and to keep other nations from stealing it or taking it. But the cannons were facing the ocean because that's where the ships came from. The wooden ships with sails and their own cannons on the ships. And they could defend the fort against the pirates and against other European nations with those cannons. But they were not facing the land, but the people. Because there was nobody coming to rescue them. Because the people who lived in that area were the ones who sold them. You see, this is something we have to realize. That they were the ones who sold them. And so I thought about my friends, the Airway, the Fonte, the Shante. They were the ones who were selling us. They let the Europeans build those castles. And as we look above the dungeons, there was the barracks where the soldiers would stay. There were the rooms and different things. And one of those rooms, Cohen pointed out, was the accounting room where all the records were kept. And they kept detailed records of how many ships, how many slaves, and how much they paid. How much they paid in guns, rum, textiles, beads, and how many slaves they got in exchange for it. Some of the captain's records complained about how the chiefs were driving hard bargains and charging more than they wanted to pay to get those slaves. But when you see that Europeans didn't come and take slaves from Africa, they bought slaves from Africans. And this is a trade, just like the drug trade. You have people who sell and people who buy. And they're both engaged in an illicit trade. In the slave trade, our people were the sellers, and the Europeans were the buyers. And we were the people who were being sold. One of those accounts that I used with my students in my class, which is why I went on this trip, so the next year perhaps I could bring a group of my students with me to Africa. When you read the story of a slave by the name of Alado Equiam, also known as Mustafa Sa, and he talks about being captured as from his village and being sold from one trader to the next. And then eventually, after many days and after many weeks, he said he saw the ocean for the first time. So this tells us that the Africans, they didn't sell their own people. Sometimes people ask, even if they know this subtly, how can we be so stupid to sell our own people? And in reality, they never sold their own people. So they would sell you someone from a different tribe. That's a completely different group of people. They got a different language, history, religion, culture from us. And we consider ourselves superior to them. And so we can capture them and sell you other people, but we will never sell you our own people. And that reminded me of the Torah story in Genesis where it says, and Joseph's brothers sold him into Egypt. And so this cycle repeats itself again of our own brothers selling us into slavery, selling us out all the time. As Joseph's brothers sold him, so did our brothers sell us. And this is because we don't think of our brothers as our brothers. As the Torah says in Leviticus, love thy neighbor as yourself. They are your neighbors. And you should think of them just like you think of yourself, not as a different people who we could sell into slavery. But this is a crime of what happens when any people loses their sense of humanity. The loss of humanity transcends race. As one rabbi said, the love of money is the root of all evil. And what black people will do for money, and what white people will do for money, or what any other people do for money, is often the same thing. Once money is the only thing you're concerned about, you will sell people for profit. And this is exactly one of the things that we should learn. According to Tanya, had a ceremony that he did for me, and I was so thankful for that. And I brought our own kind of ritual. I thought, well, in advance, what would I do when I got there? What prayers would I say? Is there a blessing in this to go over this situation and this occasion? And so I made up my own kind of ritual. And so what I brought with me from America was some coins from our Tashkent in the poor. Because I found that Chief Rabbi W. Matthews, he started a tradition. He says, you shall bring an offering. And you shall make a sacrifice. And we didn't have sheep and goats and rams like they do in Africa even today. So he said, bring these coins and put them in the Tashkent bowl and in the poor bowl. And you remember at the end of the holiday, he would give those coins back. And he would say, keep the Tashkent and throw the poor away. Throw away your sins. Throw away all of your problems and worries. And so I brought some of those coins, and from the shores of the slave castle, I threw that coin into the Atlantic Ocean, representing all of our prayers, all of our hopes, and all of the dreams of those who didn't live to make that journey to Africa as I had. I threw that in their memory. We also read a prayer for those lost in the middle passage that we now recite at Passover. That new prayer, you remember the one that we wrote as we remember those. And then I blew a shofar that I brought last year in Israel. And I brought that shofar with me to Africa, and we blew that shofar. Finally, we made our way from the Cape Coast to Kumasi. Kumasi is in the interior of Ghana, not near the coast at all. And I remember here my sister Yehudit, when she went to Ghana, many years before me, to prepare the way, and I've been thinking about it ever since, that she would talk about the Ashanti, and about the Kente, and about the golden stool which I saw there, the royal cloth, and the stately courts and armies of the Ashanti people. And so I went to the palace of the Ashanti Henry. He is the king of the Ashanti people. Even during the colonial period, they built this beautiful palace for the Ashanti king. It's now also a museum. And so I went in and I got to travel through and get the history of the Ashanti people and of many of their rulers. One of the things that I learned, and one of the things that I knew from my study, I was a medical student, we read Joseph Williams' Hebrews in West Africa. And he argued that many of the things that I observed, many of the customs and traditions, and even words that remind me of people words, concepts, customs, and traditions, that the Ashanti people believed that they came from East Africa. And the anthropological evidence suggests that they probably came from Ethiopia. And so human beings migrated in the African continent. Although they also have a myth of golden stool coming from heaven and falling and planting in there, but that they came from Ethiopia to Ghana. We know that 50,000 years ago, that's just yesterday, in evolutionary time is measured in millions of years. Thousands of years is a short period of time. 10,000 years is very short. Just 50,000 years ago, all human beings lived in Africa. And then they started to branch off from the African continent and settle the Middle East and Europe and Asia, and also to settle within Africa itself. And so people moved from East Africa to North Africa, to South Africa, and to West Africa. So the question is, where did the Akan people come from? If there were no people in West Africa until 30,000 years ago, where did these people come from? And so they came most likely from the area near Ethiopia. So this is our same people. And since they didn't sell their own people into slavery, then who did they sell? They would sell people, other people, smaller, weaker people, migrated into that land. And this, we believe, would have been our ancestors, those who were dispersed during the Assyrian exile, the 10 tribes that were dispersed. Many of them will wind up in West Africa. And they would enslave those people, not their own people, and sell them. So this is why our story of how we ultimately got here in America. We started in Israel. We moved to the west coast and southern parts of Africa. We were then sold by our own brothers into slavery, and then we arrived here in America and throughout the Caribbean as a result of that passage. Finally, as I prepared to return home, I wanted to get gifts for individuals. And so first, when I was in Accra, I visited a clothing store. They had all these beautiful African fabric. And all of it was handmade. And I picked the beautiful fabric, and at first I said, I'll tell this story, especially for my mother, who I brought her something back. So she knows the story of where her dress came from and how it arrived. I said, I like this fabric. At first I was going to get it for my wife, and I said to myself, so we could have matching outfits. So I ordered those 3. And then I said, well, you know what? My mother's birthday is going to be coming up. I want to get another one for my mother. And then I said, you know what? I had to check my money. I said, let me see if I can get one for all of my sisters too. And the seamstress and the tailors were like, can we have all of these dresses made by hand before your flight leaves? So we might be able to do it. Do you know their sizes she has? Do you know what size they are? So this one is about this big. I had some pictures on my cell phone. I said, can you look? Could you see? And the seamstress was like, I don't know. And if I could from sight make it, and then all of these are going to fit. So I emailed, text back, and you give me the sizes, give me the sizes. And then I gave her the sizes. And the seamstress, she asked a funny question. She said, now, are all of these women your wives? Because in Africa, they have a lot of. And I told her first I wanted to get one for my wife. And then I gave her more names. She was like, are all of them your wives? I said, no, this one's my wife, and the rest of these are my sisters. And she went, which one is the mother? And why do you got to know which one is this make the dress? Well, you got to know because the mother's dress has to be different. This is the African tradition. These would just make 6 dresses, 7 dresses. Like, no, we got to know who's who. That's why are they your wives, the sisters, the mother? Because the mother, she is going to be the grand dress. And you see that, anybody sees the dress, they will know that's the mother. And that one must be the wife. And those must be the sisters. And you can tell because of the dresses. So that is my story of the dresses that you're going to get as you have it. And what I realized in conclusion from all of this journey about us and about myself is that this is my tribe. You are my people. America is our country, for better or worse. We are in a unique position, a position that no other people of African descent occupy in this world. We have access to more power and more possibility than black people in any other part of the world. They look to us. They need us. They want us to help them in what they do. So therefore, we should be thinking about how can we use the privileges, the opportunities that we have in America. Use them wisely, because let me tell you, everywhere I went, I kept running out of cars. Young people want to come to America, want to study in America, want to go to college in America. And I made sure I visited at the University University of Ghana, the foreign office, to help give them information about how they can do it. But it's so expensive, it's so difficult, and our immigration maze is getting worse every day. And they want to come to America, Great Britain, or Canada. So those of you who are here, you have to feel a certain obligation. I'm here in America, I have all of this. I must use it. I must not waste the opportunities that people in Africa, if they had those opportunities, they would show you what to do with it. So let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep His commandments. For this is the whole duty of man. For God will bring every work into judgment concerning every secret thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil. Shabbat Shalom.
First and always first. Rishon, like Rabbi said. Rishon, Rishon. The one and true living God. I want to give honor. I want to give honor to the true living God. That we also call him the supreme architect of the universe. We all know who he is. We're talking about the creator of all. See, because you remember, there's other gods out there that talk about the creator of all. That's the one we recognize, the creator of all. But they see, but I Elohim, I Shemayim, all this, the God that created the heaven and the earth. Ain't Elohim, there is no other God besides him. I just want to give him honor. You see? And it's a wonderful thing to be in his house. You know, isn't it a wonderful thing, Israel? Yes. To be in the house of the Lord. Because in Exodus it says, Exodus 20th chapter, after we got the Torah and so forth, he said, Israel, remember this. He said, wherever I record my name, he said, I will truly come and bless you. Is this the house of God? Is this the house of God? That's Elohim, the house of God. So just imagine you recording the name of the Most High God here. What about if you record him in your heart? What about if you record the name of the Most High God in your heart? The Most High God got a double blessing for you being in the house of God and for you recording his name in your heart. To our Rabbi Sholomo, the spiritual leader of Beth Elohim, who's following in his father's footsteps, who I love and adore, will never forget. The traveling rabbi right now, he's been traveling. He's been traveling worldwide. He went to Israel, Ghana. That's it. But this is what we do. This is what we do. The Most High God wanted us to travel and see the world. He said, I want you to blow yourself on eagle's wings. Yes. I want you to go far, Israel. Go back to the homeland if you can. And it's important that we do recognize where we come from. Yes. So I'm listening to Rabbi when he was saying they don't recognize us as Africans. They recognize us as Americans. So what would happen if Trump decided to say, all your African Americans, go back to where you came from? Just think about it. They don't recognize us as Africans. Will they accept us? Will they accept us as African people instead of American people? So where will we go? We got to identify from the land in which we came from. So where will we go if they say, oh, y'all got to go on out of here. Get your passports together. Go somewhere, but you got to leave here. Where would you go? Yeah, that's the whole point. I like that. But we know where to go. Hashem will make a way for us. We know the true living God will make a way for us where we got to go. So I haven't seen him in a while, but he's definitely been on the show as well. He's been traveling. He's been doing a lot of great things. I heard about it. Don't think I ain't hear about it. I heard about it. And my brother's up here. And Ima, Mazel Tov, happy birthday to you. And this is why I'm here, to be honest with you. I'm here to see my Ima. Ema. My Ema said, where's my son? He's here. I'm here, Ema. In your honor. I will always love you, Ema. Never forget you. Torah says, honor the father and your mother. So that you shall live long upon the earth. We got to recognize that. We got to teach that to our children. Because some of them out here today do not respect their mothers and their fathers. But the Most High God said, I want you to teach that to your children. Teach it. That's in Proverbs. You know, in Proverbs it tells you, train the child in the way he should go. And when he get older, it won't what? It won't be part from it. So we got to recognize who our mothers and fathers are. You see, and it's important that we do that. You see. So we have so much that I'll be looking forward to in the prayer service. The prayer service, when we pray in that prayer with the Siddur, that means order. You got the Shika Zumra, you got the Nishma Kakai, you got the Hafta prayer, the Shema prayer. All of those prayers, Israel, is powerful. Very powerful. Is it not? I know Rabbi Levy, Chief Rabbi Levy, Sholomo. He told me about this one prayer that's very valuable.
Come on.
It's in Torah. Deuteronomy 6th verse, 5th chapter. Y'all know what it is. We say, Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha, Bechal Levavka, U'kan Hashem. Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart and all thy might. That's a powerful prayer. Do you know that that's a powerful prayer of protection? That prayer, when you recite that prayer, come on. I can go all the way back to the way it really started. But that's a powerful prayer. That prayer that he said on your lying down before you go to sleep. Recite that prayer. Why? Why is the Most High God telling you to recite that prayer? Because the spirit, the Ruach of man travels. Once it leaves this body, it travels to another galaxy, to that spiritual world. So we want to thank the Most High God for watching over us with this prayer. So we call upon the Most High God and say, Lord, while I lay down, I want you to watch over my spirit. I want it to return to me. So when we wake up in the morning, we say what? Moniani, Levanecha, Naka, Neka, Jeheka, Sauta, but this machine, the heaven out of our I give thanks to you, O Lord, who living and enduring. Because some people don't wake up. Some people don't wake up. They call it a natural death. But we want to thank the Most High God when we wake up in the morning because why? We said the Shema that night, ask God to protect our spirit to make it come back. And then when we wake up in the morning, we say the Shema again. We say it again, why? Because we're going on our daily lives. We're going to our job site, to school, whatever we're doing. We want the Most High God to protect us on our travel, on your lying down, on your rising up. And what else? He said, and when you walk by the way, and if you feel a little threatened about anything, just recite the Shema. You recite that Shema because you know what? The Shema consists of 3 different letters in each. We got 245 words in the Shema. Each word represents something. You see? What is 200 in Hebrew? In the alphabetical Hebrew terminology. What's the letter? Come on now, we got a lot of Hebrew scholars in here. Come on. Race is what? How much? 200.
200, yes.
Okay? This is the Kabbalistic thing that Rabbi taught us. Rabbi taught us. And then you got the mem. Right? What does that represent? 40. So now we got 240. Right? So what's the last thing? This is the 5. What is that?
Hey.
The hay. So guess what? When you put them 3 letters together, you got the word saying Ramah. Ramah meaning that you have a spear in your hand to ward off the evil temptation of Satan. So this is why the Most High God said, say this prayer when you lie down. Say this prayer when you rise up and when you walk by the way. You have a prayer of protection to ward off the evil forces of Satan. All them evil forces out there. They'll get you. They'll get you. They'll make you stray off. They'll get you. Sometimes they'll trap our spirit off. This is why we say that prayer. So remember that's the message I want to give you. Recite that particular prayer. The Shema prayer is an important prayer, the strongest prayer about love. One of the strongest forces in the universe is love. Love thy neighbor as you love yourself, like Rabbi Sholomo was saying earlier. Love thy neighbor as you love yourself. That's it. Cassette. Love and kindness. And the true living God will continue to bless you, Israel. He will bless you, lying down, rising up, and when you walk around, He wants to what's in your love. Just make sure you don't cross God. That's amazing. I remember Rabbi Bullets. Rabbi Bullets, he was a short man, but very powerful. You know what he told me? He said, Tikiyahu. Oh yeah, let me see if I can get the name right. He said, Tikiyahu. Remember one thing, you know. He said, you'll never cross God. He said, because when you cross God, you're crossing yourself. That's Rabbi Bullets. You see, this is a powerful man. You know, when this one, leave that message with you. Have that prayer, even if you have to write it down. Write it in your heart, in your mind, so you can remember it. You don't need the siddur if you put it in your heart. Just recite the whole thing. Now, so love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all thy soul, all thy might. These words that command you today shall be upon thine heart. When you sit in your house, you shall talk to them to your children. On your lying down, on your eyes, bind them for a sign upon thine hands. Talk to go between thine eyes. All right, then where else? There we go. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Praise the Lord.
No, coming to the sanctuary this morning, we were riding, had a beautiful area with my sister Deborah and Adon Oriel. You know, it's a beautiful thing. When we was running this morning, we were saying about serving the Most High. You know, and the true service, as you know, is really when we leave here. See, we're coming here now to get energy, getting that inspiration, bringing that word that's what we're going to carry with us. It is our protection. When we leave here, so you all are been charged to leave here. And the rabbis, the Rabbonim, the Morim that are here are to give you what you need to go outside. And I'll tell you, it is warfare. It is outright spiritual, huh? See, it's not just sticks and bones or break my bones or word. It's the words that we hear. It is spiritual warfare out here. And if you're not built up strong, like I just said, you have to fortify yourself to go out to this world. Because we're fighting on a spiritual battle out here. You know, and as we read the Torah today, okay? You know about our brother Korach? As we studied the Torah, about the Kukat we talked about today? God is not playing. Is he playing? When you say you see evil, what you supposed to do when you see evil? Separate yourself. This is being warning to you, right? He's telling you what you need to do. And even if sometimes it may what? Be your own brother. Be your own brother. You know, this is you know, not just so personal, right? I love Yah. I love Yah. Do you love Yah? Yeah. So when you have a decision to make, should you follow Yah or your brother? All right now, I suggest, I'm just telling you, I'm just putting a suggestion from experience. We've seen this before. I love you, but hallelujah. You know, hallelujah. We're so happy to have our brother. My dear brother, can I call him my brother? We know we share the same name. Hallelujah. You know that's a great bond and community there. Being yummy. Would you rise or ever be yummy? Be funny.
Hallelujah. May we see to give him praise and honor to the creator of the heavens and the earth, the God that created us, that made all things, and thank you for allowing us to be here on this day and allowing us to know that we are the children of Israel. So we are the people that nobody wants, but God wants us. And from the experiences from Rabbi Sholomo, showing respect to him, that when he went abroad, he learned just firsthand. They didn't want us. Yisrael didn't sell Yisrael. It was, you know, Hamites or other nations that sold Yisrael. So you had people that sold Yisrael, and you had people that bought Yisrael. But we serve a God that wants us. But we have to make sure that we show forth that we want him as well. Our actions have to show that we want him in our lives, because he has not forgotten us. Whatever we have been scattered, the Most High has shown that He does not forget us. And even as an England, I don't know if they taught you the Twi language or they taught you the days of the week in Twi, but each day of the week in Twi actually represents what happened on the 6 days of creation, and in the 7th day, Kwasia, means God's rest day. So it shows that God didn't forget us because He allowed us to remember Him and His doings, even in our captivity. Because we know that once again, as Rabbi Sholomo taught us, that it was our common people that were the ones that were sold off. And that's the ones that went throughout the Caribbean and eventually into the U.S., where we are scattered today. So once again, we left West Africa in the 1500s, went to Brazil, went to the Caribbean, and then in 1619 ended up in America. But then 300 years later, the Most High sparked in somebody's mind to start a congregation, Rabbi Matthew. And this is the year that we are acknowledging the 100 years of our awakening here in this part of the U.S. in 1919. And then 18 years after that, if the math is correct, your mother was born. So we thank the Most High God for her life this day, and seeing her here this day, living strong in the sight of the Most High, praising the Most High in the sight of the Most High. But we must make that, once again, we cannot forget the Most High. And let's forget His servants as well. We read in this week that this was where the proclamation came that Moshe was not going to go into the land. That the Most High told Moses that because he was angry, well, not because he was angry, but Moses let his anger cause him not to sanctify God's name. So we have to be careful of how we become angry and our actions that can separate us from the Most High God. We have to be very careful. But also be mindful of the children of Israel. When we were hungry, when we were thirsty, we went to Moses and said, pray. When there was plagues coming on, we told Moses, pray. When the serpents were coming and biting everybody, we went to Moses and we said, pray. When God told Moses, you're not going to the land, you're going to die here, who prayed for Moses? So the person we went to for prayer, nobody prayed for him when it was his time to die. So just think about it today. We ask people to pray for us. We can't neglect those that we ask people to pray, that we ask for prayer. Pray for them as well. Because we want them to be alive long enough to continue to pray for us. We are the ones that are going to continue to keep ourselves alive. So once again, we thank the Most High God for not forgetting us. And just like once again, no nation wants us, but we don't care about the nations not wanting us, because the God that owns everything, He wants us. We have to make sure that once again, we want Him. So once again, giving praise and honor to the Creator of the heaven and the earth, and thanking Him for this holy day and allowing us the opportunity to gather before Him. But I say Shabbat Shalom.
Iman, are you ready?
All right.
You know we got to get a word from you today. Before we eat, you got to bless us with some spiritual food, some words. 82 years. Tomorrow you're going to help Iman? We know we got to have Iman. Then we're going to close out with the Kazan and feast on this Shabbat. Would y'all rise for our mother? Rabbanit, Deborah.
Hashem, I thank and praise Him and let me live to see this day. See another beautiful summer. It's not going, is it going through? Yes. Okay.
Take your time.
My heart is very filled with joy because Hashem has really been good to me. Because when you can reach my age, which is 82 years old, 82, and he promised us to be able to do like 70 and 5. We would make 80, and I need it, and I have to thank Him because He sure has been good to me. And I'm so happy because today it was a real birthday. But I made sure I was going to make it to the house and Lord, give Him praise to make me this one. And what makes me really so happy is seeing the synagogue. I'm so happy to see every one of y'all here, especially the rabbis, because they didn't have to come. I especially see my idea my girl and my son. I told the girl to make sure she goes. I love her because my husband, before he died, he was teaching that class. He said, I want to make sure I finish that class so they would be rabbis, so they could carry on the word. And I'm so happy to see them there, you know. And as for Benjamin, I love Benjamin because he always
Love you
tells
too,
me.
Mom.
Yeah, that's my mama. You know what I mean? I'm the two sons. I'll get to that later. But I was invited to the bishop and she Robert. So I'm so glad to see everyone of y'all. And Shabita, that's one of my adopted daughters. And she don't come around all the time. I ask her that. And Shabita, I'm not all right. And I'm happy. But I love each and all of y'all. And this is their my heart up. I get ready to sing those songs. And I thank the piano player for playing it today. Raphael, because he really played. And my heart is so good for joy. And I am thankful. Because God has been good to me. To see my children, to see my grandchildren. And now I get to see my great-grandchildren. You know I have to be happy and thankful. But above all, I think I should us to love is the greatest thing it was. Yes. Because he says, you know, but the Sabbath day is holy. And that's what we're going to try to do. Go over so we can keep his commandment. Not what man said, but I said do what the Lord God said. I'm not going to preach the summer because it's already been preached. But that's the little things that I can do to help go over. That's what I do. God knows my heart. We are passing through. We only go this way once, so we have to make sure so receive afterwards. So y'all pray my help in the Lord. Do everything that I ask for Rabbi you beat me to the punch. I like to do this portion that I used to read. Because, as you know, that's my favorite. So if you give me 5 minutes, something's going to help me with this. Because one script that you did me like, I'm going to put that in there because it's very important. It says, and I am the Lord thy God, which brought you out of the land of Egypt. So that's one thing most people forget when they sit on the commandment. They don't even repeat that. But God put it up there nice and top, on the top, so you don't read nothing else. I am the Lord thy God, which brought you. Who did he bring out? You. Who is you? Okay. So when you talking to somebody, what did you tell them? What did you tell them?
Lord brought me
He brought you out of the land of Egypt. And what did he tell you? Thou shalt have no other God before me. Yeah? Because they don't understand sometimes. So you got to break it down to them. So that's why I said you did good. But that's one chapter didn't bring out. So I had to bring that out. And we want to know the God who we serve. Because there's a lot of gods out there. But we have to know the true and living God. All right now. So and you know that song, I love you. Do we love our children?
Yes, we do.
How much do we love it? How much? And what do you want us to do?
Teach it.
How often do we teach it?
When you lie down, rise up. When you walk around the way.
20%.
So I won't finish it like that. I just want to make sure. But that's my commandment, because if you teach those children when they're small, so people come to me and they say, "Girl, you get over there. How do you manage to make your children continue to stay in this way of life?" And I said, "Honey, all my children." I said, "Because if we read that commandment, read it, it's in teach them. When they lay down, when you rise up, you got to know it when they lie." I said, "And bring them to the house of the Lord by this small." I said, "Show up." That's what I did. I said, "You said you would plant olive plants around your table. You said it's out prayer. How did it go? The children will be like little olive plants around your table." And I have seen that come up.
Hallelujah.
God will change.
Baruch Hashem. אני שמח מאוד להיות פה לפני יהוה אלוהינו גם בתוכנו. I'm very happy to be here on Shabbat. I'm very grateful and honored. My name is, they call me Morey. I am living in South Florida. I've been here, I lived here now as long as I've lived in New York. It's almost 2 decades each. So I'm Rabbi Sholomo, you remember me. Very well. And you know, I'm glad I got to come all these years in New York. I didn't come here. So now, you know, when you move away, you see some perspectives that you might not readily see whilst you. So I say, you know, I've got to now, at this stage, I've got to get around to my people. I've always been a traveler. I used to compete soccer players, so compete all over. And I know we travel. I'm from Guyana. What I say, from Guyana, I'm one of the early brothers from Guyana. And supporting all these years. All the fun I raised. So I'm very grateful. And the mission is to link up people. It is to link up. The theme today is family and linking up the family, recognizing that we are a family before God. That's right. We always speak about the tribes of Israel, but we know we are the families of the house of Israel. That's right. The families of Yaakov. So we spread out, but we're still family. It's important to recognize we don't choose family. Child families are chosen for us. So as a member of a family, as we are increase our consciousness and our understanding, we've got to act accordingly. We can't sit on our understanding. And as you say, Rabbi, we reinforce ourselves and give thanks and we get fuel to do the work out there. To do the work among our people that are searching. There's a lot of work to do. I didn't ask for everybody know I'm a businessman. I didn't ask for more. But it happened to fall on me. I am a high school teacher, but I happen to find myself in a position, a stage of maturity. I can speak to people about Israel. I'm the Holy One of Israel. And I decide to gird myself and be about that. I am one who believes that we should focus on the word. Like I said the other day, we speak of unity, but unity means different things to many people. Right? But in the word unity, and associated to the word is community. Okay. So I am one who focuses on community, building community. Because in community, you must commune. You got, what does commune mean? You got to talk to each other. Communicate. We got to discuss issues that affect us as a people, affect our children. And we've got to develop plans of action. Because in a community, you need different things. If you focus on community, you're going to have to face the things you need. See, the great Sholomo Ben Levy, and I have to say, we've benefited enormously over the years from largely Levitical leadership. People who have given us joy in the worship of Torah, who've written songs for us, who've taught us these things. We have a legacy. We could come here, I could go to the DCB, I could go to them. We have a legacy of worship. Now we've got to think about us. What else we can do to complement that worship? Come on, that's it. To complement the ceremonial and religious part. There's work to do. You see, to complement all of the great leadership that we've had. Now I want to say this, Rabbi Benjamin, I called you a few times. The one when I told you I would call you from Florida. And I called Rabbi Sholomo too. Rabbi Baruch gave me enough to understand. I told you I want to come on here. And I want to say this about this brother. I watched your works. You're a bishop. And what are you doing? You provided incredible leadership. And inspiration by building your association with the land. And we from Guyana, this young brother here, he knows. Because, well, for me, your career showed that. I just, July 4, right? I just ran at 61. So I give that still dancing. Still playing football. Of course, we drink more beers than we play, but we still. But I want to say this, that like Rabbi Sholomo explained to us, the paradox of we visiting the land we came from, when they say, hey, strange brother, what's up? You see what I'm saying? What a paradox, right? So the point is this, we here, we in America, we in these lands, we're going to be here for a while. Well, I would think that we've got to start to think about how we can embrace and learn the skills that we need to have a greater influence on our existence and our lives. And there's no greater part than food. That's why I'm talking about that. See, I'm following the footsteps of Rabbi Sholomo. I am an educator at a high school level. But I'm telling you this. Our children, we've got to start charging our children to study in areas that we need.
Yes.
Not even, well, whatever they want. Whatever they want.
Yes.
We've got to let them learn agricultural science.
Yes.
And how we can get a little impact and control some aspect of our food chain. We can do this. Listen, you can't live here and just, you like dead, like, come on. We've got to start, we got to communal, we've got to talk. You've got to start discussing strategy and how to raise our young children and charge them to study areas that we need.
Yes.
So I want to take it up on. I want to give thanks and praise to
All right. The one and only Kazan Natan. All right. We're going to go to who has the Shabbos to, if you will, come forth and collect any offerings that you may have while the Kazan blesses us. Blesses us. I'm going to bless this house. Hallelujah. Oh, whatever's on your heart, my Lord, on this Shabbat day. That's what I'm feeling like. Okay, he gonna get the book now. He gonna go to the book. I'll get him for a treat. He might remember. Hallelujah. The Kazan. Hallelujah.
Giving honor to the Most High God, the Creator of heaven and earth. To Rabbi Sholomo, Levy, spiritual leader of Elohim, Rabbi Benjamin, Rabbi Tikiyahu, Chief Benjamin, Rabbi. I gotta give him all his titles. Can't shortchange him. To Beth Elohim congregation, members and friends, and to Ema, Rabbi Levy. I got to let you in on this. When we had our last ICVC meeting, Ema was sitting in the back. So I didn't know she was going to be there. So when I spotted her, I said, well, let me go, give my blessings. So I got there, said, hello, Ema, how are you? She said, I'm well, cousin. And then she said, my birthday is July 30th. She said,
on on July 6th, I want you to tell my son, Rabbi Zekiyahu, he better be at Beth Elohim. That wasn't a command, that was an order. That's right. So I beeline home, turned my phone on, and said, Rabbi, you are requested to be at Beth Elohim July 6th. For Rabbi Neat's birthday bash. He said, okay. He said, I can do that. But on this beamer here, we've heard from everybody. And it's something to have wisdom and knowledge. But these men up here, they showed you that not only do they have that, they have understanding in what they were saying. I mean, that's what Shlomo asked for. When the Most High said, what do you want? He said, give me understanding so I can lead this people here. Because Israel is a difficulty. They stiff-necked. He said, I'm not asking you for riches and honor. He said, I want understanding so I can lead your people. And for Shlomo being so wise, the Most High said, I'm going to give you that and everything else. So I feel privileged standing up here after I heard what the young man has said up here today. Yeah, it's really wonderful. It's really wonderful. And I'm looking over there in that corner looking for the piano that used to be over there. Because at this time in the service, Rabbi Levy ben Levy, Shalom Alive, he would leave the beam, get on that piano, and say, okay, y'all start testifying. You start hitting them keys, and the house will go crazy. But this is a glorious day for us. And my Rabbi Ben Yamin asked for me to sing this song for you. Bless this household, Lord, we pray. Make it safe by night and day. Bless these walls so firm and stout, keeping warm and trouble out. Bless the roof and chimneys tall. Let thy peace lie
bless these folks who dwell within. Keep them safe and free from sin. Bless us all that we may be fit, O Lord, to dwell with thee. Bless us all that we may be fit, O Lord, with
Shekinah, is Shekinah here for the announcements? She's going to bring the announcements for us. I know Ima Aliyah has a prayer. She also wants to leave with us. Is she here? Okay, Ima. Go ahead and give us the blessing. We have the announcements.
Everything downstairs. Within the eighth blessing is a supplication for the health and healing of the mind, soul, body, and the spirit. Rabbi and the neighbor never Koshi Anu the liberty. He tell a ton of us. The hell they the portion of gold, the form of the king. He alma that wrote baby, the mind of Heal us, Hashem, that we will be. Save us that we will be saved. You are our all that we can. Bring complete recovery from all of our mind, soul, body, and spirit. So you are our power, you are the king, you are the faithful and compassionate. Blessed are you, Hashem. Blessed are you, Hashem. Blessed are you, Hashem. Your people is right. What is my name? My name is Allow lips to your ears, Hashem. Please hear the children's
Hallelujah.
Happy birthday. We thank you, Hashem, for healing who you put into our midst. We gratefully thank you, Hashem, for putting healing that we left in our lives. Amen.
Shabbat Shalom. All praises to the Most High. We just have a couple of announcements. We want to say welcome back to our Rabbi again from Africa. And we also want to say happy birthday again to Rabbini. And everybody's birthdays in July as well. Again, we're moving forward for the Centennial events from August 12th to August 19th. Monday, August 12th will be the Centennial Preliminary, the meet and greet, which will be at the Aloft Hotel. I will post all information and addresses next week so everybody can have the information. August 12th, that evening, is the Centennial ICC Celebration Open and Reception Celebration, which will be at the Harlem State Office, and that's going to be from 5 to 8. On the Tuesday, August 13th, is the Centennial Breakfast from 9 to 12. Location is to be determined. On Wednesday is going to be a Centennial Elders Boat Ride, which will be at 2430 FDR Drive. And if you need information, you can contact Gavera Judith or Gavera kayak. Tickets are $50 and they're going really fast. And the time for the boat ride for the elders, and all is welcome, but it's just really emphasizing the elders. It's going to be an all-white boat ride from 7:30 to 11:30. Then Thursday, August 15th, will be the Centennial Family Reunion and Centennial Concert, which will start at from 1 to 4. It's going to be more of a reunion. And then from 4 to 8, we will be starting the concert. And that's going to be at Jackie Robinson Park, 89 Bradhurst, New York, New York. For more information, you can speak to myself or Devera Deborah or Oria. Then on Friday, August 16th, will be the Centennial Community Symposium. And that's going to be at the Harlem State Office from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. We also have Israel. He's going to be on the podium, and he'll be speaking as well on behalf of the Israelite communities. Then August 16th, that evening will be Friday. They're going to be having the Centennial Arab Shabbat Service at Congregation Beth Elohim, which is located in Brooklyn, Garfield Temple, 274 Garfield Place, and that's going to be from 6 to 9. August 17th, on that Saturday, will be the Centennial Shabbat Service, which will be the Unity Shabbat as well for Rabbi Matthews. And that's going to be from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., same location, Congregation Beth Elohim, Garfield Temple. Not this temple, Garfield Temple. And then from there, August 18th, on a Sunday, will be the Centennial Gala, which is very important. Tickets are going extremely fast. The tickets is $125, and that includes meal and especially a good time that night. And then August 19th, concluding, will be the Centennial Closeout, which will be at the Aloft Hotel, wishing everybody the best and closing out with prayers. Tomorrow will be our ICVC meeting, and it will be located here at Beth Elohim. And the time is from, November to tomorrow? Oh, okay. What time is the ICVC meeting tomorrow? 1 to 3. 1 to 3, and you're welcome to do the conference call. Those are all the announcements that I have. Raphael, do you have something?
On that particular September, I set up that because, as you know, myself and Rabbi Baruch is working with the mayor's office to do overall proclamation. But the city councilman for the Harlem area, city councilman Perkins, and Assemblywoman Ida Jenkins also want to do a proclamation in September, so that specific information to you.
Okay, it's located on the website.
Right, and also the fact that we're in discussion about naming where Rabbi Matthews had his temple as right. They name a street after him on that corner. Right? So that is a discussion. All that information. I don't know where exactly the person is, right? Yeah.
And that's all the announcements for today.
Right, and one more thing, because it's important for everybody to know, we just had an election, and the board president of Queens lost the original election for district attorney by 1,100 votes. Well, guess what happened? We had a recount, and she won by 20 votes. Then we had another recount, and she's only up by 16 votes. So we're going to be going on Tuesday to finalize everything. But God works in mysterious ways. I don't need to tell you who the other person was, but it ain't what we would want for a DA. So I just want to say that. I don't want to say more people things on Shabbat Day. But God works in that way. That's why we reverse the picture.
Okay. And those are all the announcements. Everybody is welcome to do Kiddush with us. We're going to be setting up upstairs, and it's going to be in memory and also celebration of Rabbi 82. Shabbat Shalom. Everybody have a blessed week.
So it's going to be upstairs?
Yes.
Okay. So we're going to
And all the places already made, so everybody just have to just come down.
just reorganize the tables here, and we're going to feast.
Set them up. One here, one there, one there, one there.
Hallelujah. Any other announcements in the community? Anybody want to make? Anything they want to mention about? We are rejoicing, enjoying the Shabbat. Hallelujah. We ready to go to Rabbi? We'd all stand. Hear, O Yisrael, the eternal power. The eternal is one. May you bless our forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. May you bless this entire holy congregation, along with all the holy congregations, them, their wives, sons, and daughters, and all that are there, and those who dedicate synagogues for prayer, and those who enter them to pray, those who give lamp illumination, wine, tradition of dollar, and bread, and charity to the poor, and all who involve faithfully in the needs of the community. May the Holy One bless the seed, pay their reward, and remove from them every affliction, heal their entire body, forgive their every iniquity, and send blessings and success for all their handiwork, along with all Israel their brethren. Let us say, Amen. Shalom. The Lord bless you and keep you safe.
And be as well.
The Lord turn his face toward you and be gracious unto you.
And be as
The Lord
well.
lift his countenance toward you and grant you peace.
And be as well.
Some bless you now in Israel, I need our prophet. They shall place my name in your lips, and I will bless them. Shabbat Shalom. Shalom Aleichem.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you. Yes.